Hello, Tom here, and welcome to my new video, how to draw a 3D cube in two-point perspective. We'll start by drawing a horizontal line in the middle of the page, and then we need to put two dots far away from each other as possible, but not too near the edges, and there will be the vanishing points for our perspective. Then we draw one vertical line down the center of the page, and this will be the corner of the first cube that we draw. And then from the base of this line, we want to continue a diagonal line to the vanishing point on the left, and then repeat that process, a diagonal line to the vanishing point on the right. This will be the base of the cube that we're drawing as the very first cube in this image. The next step is on the vertical line to decide how high the first cube is going to be, and from that point on the vertical line, draw a non-diagonal to the left vanishing point, and then a diagonal to the right vanishing point. So now we've got the two sides of the cube, and now I just draw a vertical line on the right, and that will show where the cube stops on the right, and then repeat that process on the left, and that will show where the cube stops on the left. And now from the point on the right, we can transfer a diagonal, and then the same on the left. So one of the diagonals goes to the vanishing point on the left, and one to the right, and therefore we get the back of the cube, so that it looks three-dimensional, and you've got the two sides of the cube. One is going to the vanishing point on the left, and one side is going to the vanishing point on the right. And we can see the top of the cube of this one. So I just darken some of the lines, and then the two further edges of the cube, I'll continue two vertical lines down the whole of the page, so that we can do a whole stack of cubes. Now in this drawing, I don't want the stack of cubes touching each other. I'd like a little gap. So I just put a dot on the middle vertical line, slightly above the first cube, and then we're going to repeat exactly the same process by drawing the diagonal lines to the vanishing points on the left and the right. So in this drawing, all of the diagonal lines will either go to the left if they're pointing that way, to the vanishing point on the left, or they'll go to the right. And all of the upright lines will all stay vertical and upright and parallel to each other. So all of the upright lines are going to be a series of parallel vertical lines, and then all of the diagonal lines are going to keep going to the vanishing points, either to the left or to the right. So in this way we can build up a stack of cubes. Now underneath here, because this cube is higher, we can see the base of the cube rather than the first cube that we drew, where we can see the top of the cube. So anything below the horizontal first line that we did, we'll be able to see the top of the cube, like the cube at the base here. But some of the top of the cube will be hidden by the cube above it. So we still read the lines, so all of the diagonal lines will be read to the vanishing points all the way through this. But you'll just have to notice that as you go up, as the cubes go up, you see the base of the bottom of the cube, and as you look down on the cubes, you see the top of the cube. But this line here just goes to the vanishing point, so you don't, in a sense, need to think where it goes. It will just go to a vanishing point. And the same with these ones at the lower stack of these cubes. And be careful that you get nice crisp edges, and then you don't need to redraw them. So for this drawing, I think just to get a stack of cubes and making sure that the distance between each cube is a similar amount and the height of each cube is the same. So the central vertical line in this drawing, I'm sort of doing it just by eye, but you could use a ruler if you wanted to. I'm trying to make each of the cubes the same height on that central vertical line, and then all of the other lines are just read from that. Now once you've got the whole stack of cubes in the center of your drawing, then you can start to think about putting more cubes to the left and the right. So I draw a vertical line on either side of the stack, which is a little bit of a gap in between so that the cubes aren't touching. And then I draw another vertical line, and that will create a whole stack of cubes, and then a sort of space bar, a space line, and then another vertical line. So in this way I'm repeating the process. They're getting slightly smaller as they go away towards the vanishing point, but this will create a whole stack of cubes almost like on a shelf or like some sort of crazy Amazon warehouse. And then I repeat that on the right, so it's exactly the same thing. Now at this stage, I would be careful not to get lost. So I'm just darkening the outline of the sides of the cubes on the left so that I can see where they are. So I can work out where they are, but just so I don't get lost, I darken those because that's quite straightforward where they are. And then even at this stage, I will find where all of these cubes go towards the right vanishing point, and diagonal lines towards the right vanishing point will continue until it hits another cube, as it were, until it goes behind another shape, and then it just needs to stop. So a lot of these diagonal lines for this 2-point perspective will be very short because they keep bumping into another cube. They keep going behind another cube. So again, mapping these out, you don't need to guess where they go. They're all going to go to the point on the right because the face of these cubes is on the left, and therefore the back end of the cubes, as it were, they all go shooting towards the right vanishing point. Just make sure that you draw them all in as you go along, and I'm using a 4B pencil mainly for this drawing. Maybe when I do some tonal drawing on it, I might use a 6B pencil. So just moving the drawing along here, hopefully you get the hang of this, and it's just a matter of repeating the process. Now in the middle of this drawing, the horizontal line in the middle, there's going to be like a little gap there because we're looking between the cubes, so I might make that quite dark. I'm not sure. So again, just trying to find out these lines, they're already drawn, but I'm just making them darker, and then I'm adding the perspective lines going to the vanishing points on the left and the right. So just by repeating that process, you get to have a whole stack of cubes. Now if you look carefully, as they go towards the vanishing point, they do get a bit more general because they're so small you can't really see them. So I put 2 more diagonals going away from the vanishing point on the left and the right, repeat the cube process, and now to do this I put a whole stack of horizontal lines on the base of the bottom half of the drawing. That just helps me read across what's happening. Now this looks quite complicated here, but if you look carefully again, all that's happening is that there are vertical lines for each of the cubes. I've extended the lines, the vertical upright lines, from the edge of each of the cubes, and then that will show me where to put the more stacks of cubes. So it's exactly the same process, but as we get towards the center of the vanishing points, I'm putting in lots of lines, diagonal lines, which are all going towards the center of the vanishing point. And as these diagonal lines become more vertical, they'll get closer and closer together. And in the sense, I think what I'll do is, as the diagonal lines get closer together, they'll sort of become dark or black because the pencil line has a thickness to it, and I couldn't possibly do an infinite number of boxes because the thickness of the pencil line would get in the way. So they'll sort of be getting darker as they get closer together. So in this way, I can indicate an awful lot of cubes without actually drawing them. So I've done the diagonals, which are all going to the vanishing point, and then I just repeat that process for the uprights too, and then I can actually tone in and shade in the vertical and horizontal bars to create a lot of depth. And now I'm going to just shade in some of the cubes, and I'm starting with the left hand side of all of the cubes. I'm shading them in. I'm sort of using a slightly darker tone towards the bottom of the page, and then as it goes towards the top of the page, I'm making it slightly lighter. Then if you look carefully on the right, there are also facets of the cubes on the left to darken, but they're much smaller, so I just darken those too, and then we get a sense of a three-dimensional quality of a lot of cubes, which looks sort of quite surreal to me, almost like a space age sort of thing. I hope you enjoyed doing drawings like this, and I hope you find this video useful for your own drawings. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Circle Line Art School, where you'll find many more of my art tutorials. I hope you like this video and give it a thumbs up, and please check on the links below to see more of my drawing videos. Thank you very much for watching again, and see you next time.